not execute the law.
I thought that you were going to squirm out of that question.
I'm not squirming.
Yes, you did. And
you're describing illegal immigration, which has been around for a long time, as an invasion, which is fine for you if you want to do that. But why is that unusual that there's a process to go through to deport people? I mean, that's actually just how the system works.
Do you know how long it takes for this process, this paperwork to get people out? The guy that we've all been weeping and gnashing teeth over, the guy we sent to El Salvador, was in the country 14 years illegally.
But what about what
We've got
Dante's-
millions of people who have gamed this system, and now we're going to give
either
it
you
some more.
believe in the Constitution or you don't.
I believe in the sovereignty of the United States, or you don't.
But
So you don't believe in the
do you believe in the Constitution?
I believe in the sovereignty of the United
So you
States,
don't
and I
believe in the
believe we've
And
been
you don't
invaded.
believe that Donald
Can I
Trump
just ask a
should
question?
abide by the Constitution?
Just a serious question.
Of course I do.
And
Of course I believe.
Do you believe that he does?
And I believe that he will follow, just as he said, what the Supreme Court says. But the policy debate is worth
From
having.
the very beginning,
millions
of Trump,
upon millions of
when
people are
Trump
here, and they will not
campaigning,
leave, and he
he
has
has
to get them out.
always
I agree with you with
believed
that, Scott.
in executive
Hold on a
overreach.
second, Dante. Let me just let her
Always.
finish.
From the very beginning, from 2016, he has believed in executive overreach. We've all seen that. He said it. It was clear. Are you saying now that you don't believe that he believes in executive overreach?
I believe that he believes his mandate from the American people is to solve illegal immigration. And I would ask you the same question in reverse. Did Joe Biden, when he said he would faithfully uphold and execute the laws of this land, not mean it when he decided to let millions upon millions of people into the country? Because he did not execute the laws.
I thought that you were going to squirm out of that question.
I'm not squirming.
Yes, you did. And that's why I prepared for it, because I want to read you something. At the core of Trump's candidacy is a call for greater executive authority with willful disregard for the constitutional limits placed on our chief executive. Trump especially promises to force individual companies to do things he wants them to do, or else he promises punishment to those who displease him, which appeals to the miserable man at the airport bar. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Exactly.
And here's
so
the deal.
He hasn't
And
changed,
here's
so
the
what has changed about you?
And here's the difference between then and now. This country has been invaded. The president was elected
So
to
you
end the
changed your
invasion.
opinion on the Constitution?
My opinion is the president needs to pull every lever he can to solve illegal
So
immigration.
you've answered
crisis.
that question by saying
here's
that
the
you
question.
don't mind him being
Do you
unconstitutional.
believe that every immigrant here is the same? You can't believe that because
Yes.
they're not. They're not.
I do.
There's some
I
good,
believe
there's
every-
some bad. There's some criminal,
I
they're
believe,
not.
I believe
And how
everybody
do you-
who's here
but
illegally
hear
is here
this out.
illegally.
How do
Not
you
all are
differentiate?
violent, but all are here illegally.
But how do you differentiate if nobody gets a hearing, if you don't have due process? How do you distinguish one from the other?
Well,
so what you're saying is every person that's here in this country is a criminal, is a gang member,
No.
should be thrown in jail.
Every person who's
That's
here
what's
illegally,
happening.
every person who is here illegally is in fact a criminal. Some of them do come here and commit violent crimes
Some of
and
them, but
still
how do you
aren't
differentiate
deported.
if you don't have a
Well,
process?
some have records and some don't.
But they
I'm
still
here to
have
break the news.
constitutional rights.
They're all
Hold on-
going
hold on a
away.
second.
Still have constitutional
I want to make
rights.
sure that we're not straying from the point of this conversation, which is a question about due process rights. And so I'll just ask really quickly, do you believe that undocumented immigrants have to have due process rights, that that's constitutionally what they are entitled to?
I'm unsure of what that means in the context of some of the cases that we've been dealing with in the news lately, because I've been looking at these people who have been here for 14 years, have been through
Okay.
numerous immigration.
All right, well,
I have a question about what does that mean?
All right.
Yes,
let
I
me-
agree,
let me-
but what does it mean?
Let me bring the Supreme Court into this since you brought them up. This is what two different Supreme Court justices have said about this issue in the past.
Do undocumented immigrants have the 5 freedoms?
Oh, I think so. I think anybody who's present in the United States has protections under the United States Constitution.
The 14th Amendment, it doesn't speak of citizens, as some constitutions grant rights to citizens, but our Constitution says person. And the person is every person who is here, documented or undocumented.
Batya, I wonder why it's so difficult to understand a pretty simple concept. If Trump wants to deport illegal immigrants, he can do that, but he ought to do it legally. Do you think that that is a fair thing to say at this moment?
I do. I do think the media is pulling another, dictator for a day hoax right now, because it's clear when Trump said, "I don't know," what he meant was what he finished his sentence saying, which is, "I don't know where the Supreme Court is going to come down on whether deporting these illegal migrants is constitutional or not. It's very obvious, and yet every
hold on.
single
All right.
headline.
You just called it a hoax, so let's just play. Can we
play
play it
it.
again
Yeah.
in the control room, what Trump said in response to Kristen Walker?
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr.
I
President?
don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know.
as
It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials.
So can I respond to that?
Yeah.
So what does it mean for an illegal immigrant to have due process? We would all agree that they do not have the same level of due process that we do. For example, we are entitled to a jury trial, and they are entitled to a hearing before an immigration judge. Do you know who the immigration judges work for? They work for the executive branch. They work for
what?
which
So what?
means
That's
that
a racist
they
statement.
work
I think that
for
actually
Donald
you're-
Trump,
you're-
which
you're
means
actually
that
making
he is
a
in
great-
charge
you're making a great
of the due
point.
process that they get.
But Donald Trump doesn't even want to give him even that
He
due
didn't
process.
Say that.
I mean, I think that
he
that's
said
part of the
he
problem.
is not sure the level to which they are entitled.
She didn't ask
to
about
due
what
process, which
level
is
of
a
due
completely
process.
That's a very
accurate
basic,
statement.
No, I mean, the reason I'm jumping in here is because she did not ask him should they have a jury trial? Should they not have a jury trial? She just said whatever process they are entitled to. If they're immigrants and they're in an immigration proceeding, then yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a different type of proceeding. It's actually more of an administrative proceeding.
It's a much lower
but
standard as well.
still, even still, they are trying to circumvent that minimal amount of due process.
Then why does
and
it
the
take so
question
long?
is,
let me give
why?
you an example.
The
I'll
question is
give you an
why?
example. In the example of Kilmar Obrego Garcia, I believe he already got his due process.
Yes.
He had a deportation order. So for Trump to be
Yes.
asked, does that man deserve more due process? I think the answer is absolutely not. I don't want another dime of my taxpayer
not
dollars
supposed to be
go to.
removed.
He was
I don't-
not
I don't-
supposed to be sent to
listen,
El
he was
not
Salvador.
supposed to. Let's-
he
let's-
had a deportation.
Let's put Kilmar
order.
Abrego Garcia to the side
No,
for
but
just
I'm just
let's-
using him as an
I know,
example
I know that you are.
of someone who
but I
Trump
also
could
think
very
that,
legitimately say
Okay.
does not need any more due process.
well,
And we ask-
it's not Trump's decision to decide that. I think that's the end of the story. Is that it's not Trump who decides when the due process ends. It's a process for a reason.
Or to unilaterally decide this person is good, this person is bad, because I saw a picture of
But
fake
he literally
tattoos or whatever it is.